Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Boys Podcast. We are your hosts, Jay.
Alex.
Dawson.
Today we are doing a new series along with the D&D episodes called Quick Save. In Quick Save, we are going to be talking about the campaign and also using it as like a mini Q&A once we start getting questions rolling in. So to start off today's Quick Save, I'm going to start off with Uzal because his story is not really explained in the actual D&D episodes, and I kind of want to just explain him a little bit. I'm not going to go too deep into his backstory and like what he's doing now to the world.
Anything.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything. This is kind of just like what he was in his former life. So Uzal was actually an elven king in his former state. He was
really?
he was actually quite respected among his peers until greed and bloodlust took him over. He and his close set of knights were a force to be reckoned with. They were actually the most renowned warriors in the world.
Mm.
So, like, and Uzal was actually really powerful himself. So, like, him and his knights, if anyone tried to challenge him, he could just wipe them out, no problem.
Well, now he's just a little gaunt bitch, but I mean.
Yeah. And Diamis, the god over this world, decided to punish him because his actions were starting to become very severe. And she cursed him, and this curse made him like feeble. It kind of like weighed on his body and like turned him into what he is now, that little goblin bitch, as you say. And he eventually died. So yeah, so he decayed away and then eventually died, and he became a myth for like the newer generation.
Did the like cultists that we fought, did they like bring him back or some shit?
So that's the thing. I'm not going to get into like how he was resurrected, but he obviously was because he's around right now. But yeah, he was pretty much forced into like being myth of the past age, and this new age doesn't really know about Uzal at all. So he's kind of like a new thing that you guys ran into.
If when we first saw Uzal, if we just immediately attacked him, would we have died?
I don't think you would have died. Like, I don't think he would have actually killed you guys, but you definitely would not have been able to kill him. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah.
Is that just because of like plot armor, or is that just because like?
That's just because he's like naturally powerful. Like,
even in his weak state, he's still. I mean, as soon as you walked into the room, you took like what, 6 damage?
Yeah, he has like this aura around him that, you know, like the witches in Destiny.
Yeah.
He's kind of like that. Like, he can just like spawn a blight on himself and just like do that kind of shit.
Slow you down. It's really annoying. You gotta dodge out of it.
But yeah, like, I don't think he would have actually killed you guys because he sees how valuable you guys are. Obviously, he's using you guys right now, but I don't think you guys could have killed him.
What if we rolled nat 20s every time?
He rolled nat ones.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're on to a new D&D story.
Oh, also with Uzal, he was an elven king, and that's why he distastes humans so much. Like, you know, when he met you guys, and he give me a human, like all humans are the same, whatever. Yeah, that's why, because he's like one of the like the elven nobles, so like he dislikes humans.
So is that everything about like Uzal that you were gonna say, Jay? Like everything you can talk about?
Yeah, I really don't want to go into present day Uzal because I feel like there's a lot of potential that can be expanded upon in the future with that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just what I have for Uzal. What about Basir?
Alright, so Basir is a human barbarian from the lands of Neverwinter. From a young age, he was been fighting as his parents were murdered in a botched robbery attempt at the local smith. Having no guidance and surviving on his own, he was only able to speak in grunts as he was just wandering the Badlands. He had just really nowhere to go because he didn't know anybody except his parents, and he pretty much was a baby when they were murdered. He pretty much just crawled off out there.
Slowly survived.
So Basir was actually a baby?
Yeah,
young
age. He just hopped out of the crib. Like, he literally watched his parents murdered and just had bloodlust.
Quick question.
So,
I might ruin this, but who, like, do you know, like, what murdered them? Or who? Or if? Botched robbery?
It was a thief. Yeah, it was a
It was
botched
a
robbery.
dwarf druid named Darin Torthra.
Oh, Jay, it was an elf named
Oh
Gary.
God.
Well, I'm not gonna say anything because, you know, it was a botched robbery, and we only have one thief in our thing.
I mean, there's multiple
Jesus
thieves in the
Christ.
world, but
Yeah.
I can see where you're going.
One question I have about your backstory is when your parents were murdered in the robbery, was it because your parents saw the robbery happening and then they tried to attack the guy and stop it, or did he realize there were people where he was trying to rob and he like, killed them to like stay undetected?
Or
It was
did they
because he
fight
was
back
just-
and end up
He was
losing?
just trying to. No, it's because he was trying to hold up the smithy, because the dude was just an old man, and basically like the parents were
Oh,
there.
so
and
then
there's,
your
like, no
parents tried to
witnesses.
intervene and they got killed because of it?
No, the dude was just a lunatic and he didn't want any witnesses. Yeah, you know how Skyrim, like, you can literally have just a few people see you and it's like, oh, great, the guards? Yeah, mm-mm.
So how did what was like the first encounter with a barbarian? Did he like like see you and like just pick you up and then decide to take you in?
I mean, I wasn't really picked up by a barbarian. I was more picked up by Scavland
By what?
Badland
Scavland?
Scavengers.
Scotland Badgers.
Yeah, I was picked up by the honey badgers.
Scotland Badgers. Ferocious.
Picked up by a family of badgers.
By the Badland Scavengers. Now fully grown, I set off to make a name for myself, as well as a living. My first official contract was the one that we were on right now, and I'm not really trusting of anybody. He's had a rough childhood, and it's taught him well. His morals are kind of murky because he was raised by some Badland Scavengers and watched his parents murdered, so that's all he really
So-
knows.
You kind of like glossed over like being raised. Was it kind of like a Spartan society, or was it more of like everybody
Pull your own
fend for
weight.
themselves? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like kind of like you just described, Spartanic.
Okay.
Strong will
A
survive.
lot of training.
A lot of grunting.
Yeah. Was there like official training, or did you kind of just learn by watching and then learn by doing because you like had to survive like that?
It was learned by watching because they didn't really teach anybody their ways. They kind of just picked you up and used you for slave labor, and he escaped
Yeah.
that.
So you weren't like willingly released, like you escaped them?
Oh, I fucking killed them. They're dead. That was my trial. I killed the last 5 people who survived. It wasn't like
The
a
last
huge-
5 scavengers?
It wasn't like a big group of scavengers. I mean, they were tough and all that, and they had their ways, but like they all just kind of died, and then I took my chance to kill the last of them and leave.
So you really didn't want to be there?
No.
Okay.
He also has like a sense of right and wrong that's kind of twisted. So he thinks what's wrong is right and what's right is wrong. And that's kind of like a
Okay.
byproduct of his life.
Yeah.
Which is why he tries to fight and kill everyone and eat them.
Yes, and fuck skulls. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. He's on his quest and he wants to see what happens.
That's sick. Alright, I guess we should start talking about Garion then.
Alright, fight. So, it was the year 6406, and a little elf baby was born. His name was Garion. He was the child of Nolarian and Galeria Yeldark. His firstborn was a girl named Gihilana. At the time of Garion's birth, Gihilana was still quite young for elves, which was age of 56, which, I mean, for humans, that's, like half their life, but for elves, it's almost nothing. And the first 30 years of Garion's life, they were kind of, just typical children's life. Elves, even though their bodies don't mature until about 100, their minds mature significantly faster than humans or anything else. So I'd say by about 30, he was probably mentally decently mature. And a few months before Garion's 43rd celebration of birth, so his 43rd birthday.
What was Garion's home life? What did he like to do? Instead of the normal farming or whatever. Did he like to do anything?
I think that his dad would probably train him, I guess.
Okay.
Not hard or anything, but kind of just teach him the ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, just teach him how to fight, because they did grow up in a small kind of village with probably maybe 30 people, maybe 40 people at most. So it was pretty small.
Kind of like the medieval version of and like doing catch with your son, like showing him how to swipe the sword or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, teaching him how to use
Yeah.
swords, daggers, bows, stuff like that. So a few months before Garion's 43rd birthday, Garion and Gihilana were given the news that they were going to have a younger sister, whose name was Adriel. Adriel was born in 6429, and it was actually on the same day of Garion's birthday, but she was quite different from any Eladrin. She was born with fiery red hair, one red eye, and one blue. And much like Garion, for the first 15 years, she was just a happy little ball of red, running around and playing with the other elves and whatnot. And the Eldarks live like quite a distance from the city Mithrandain, which is the biggest city near them. And they also lived in the Feywild. And there was an area in the Feywild that would almost like never cross over to the Mortal Realm, which if you're not familiar with the Feywild, parts of it will cross over to where Garion and Basir and everyone else is every once in a while. Sometimes it could stay there for a day, sometimes it could be like 6 months, so it really depends. But the area in the Feywilds that they were in, it wouldn't really ever cross over into the Mortal Realm. Their dad did have like knowledge and have ventured and talked to humans and whatnot, but he didn't really convey much to his family, I guess. And so did their mother. And one day, a noble Eladrin by the name of Hadamir Kequinel, he's the ruler of Mithrandain, had heard news of this irregular Eladrin with fiery red hair and 2 different eye colors, and wanted to see for himself if the rumors were true. So, Hadamir and his sentinels took off from Mithrandain for the week-long journey to reach a small village in which the Yeldarks lived. Upon arrival at the village, Hadamir immediately noticed the young Yeldark, who was far away. Nibelarion, having been from Mithrandain, knew exactly who Hadamir was and told Adriel to go inside. "What do you want, Hade?" Nibelarion asked in an agitated voice. "I thought I told you to leave me and my family be." Hadamir, looking hurt, answered, "Oh, come on, Nile. That's no way to talk to an old friend, now is it?" Nilarion quickly answered back, "I'm not your friend. Answer the question, Hade. What do you want?" "Well, I heard from a little snake that there was a child like no other Eladrin here, so I came to see for myself, and it appears the rumors were true." Nilarion answered back a bit heated, "You stay the hell away from my family, or so help me, I will rip the long life out of your body and feed it to Dendar." Which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Dendar was an ancient primordial that was evil. Hadamir answered back, "Easy there, Nile. I'm just here to see if the rumors were true, but considering it is your child, I'll leave you be, for now." Larian stood there and stared down Hade and his 5 sentinels. "Get out of my town, now." Hadamir answered back, "As you wish," and took an exaggerated bow. After Hade and his sentinels left, Adriel pretty much came out and asked Nilarion who it was. Nilarion told her it was no one to be concerned with. So, jump cut, 14 years later. It is now Garion's 90th birthday, which for elves, once you reach 100, that's like the age of maturity. That's when you can officially call yourself an adult as an elf.
So when you
So
can
90
smoke
is
some weed.
Yeah, pretty much. And get high as drunk, all he wants. Yeah. No, so he's 90 and he's almost there. So it's a big celebration. And in it being a big celebration, the whole town was there, and they were drinking, eating, singing song, having fun, pretty much.
How does Garion feel around these times of celebration for his birth?
As of now, I mean, he's fine with them. He enjoys them just like a normal birthday.
Okay.
Obviously, for elves who live very long, they don't come very often. They're relatively repetitive in their younger years for like the first 100, but after that, it's... And so, yeah, the townsmen, they're pretty drunk, pretty loud with laughter, and night came, town went to sleep. Some passed out on the lawn, some, on tables, and none the wiser about what was about to happen. But Garion, not really enjoying drinking and whatnot, didn't drink that much that night, and he was just on top of his roof, staring off in the distance whenever he does when he has something on his mind, and noticed something that was kind of moving in the shadows. And so he immediately jumped down and watched as these figures came closer and closer to his home. So he jumped back through his window. He went back to his mother and father, who were sleeping, woke them up, and told them what he saw outside. Upon hearing this, Nile told Garion to go wake up Gihilana and Adriel and tell them to come back into the room, and after that, to come back to him. Nile had a guess at who it might be and told Galay to protect the kids, and quickly put on his old armor and grabbed his sword. For those of you who are lost, Galay is Garion's mother, and Nile is Garen's father. As Nalae and Garion walked out the door, all the torches in the fires of the town lit up, giving the figures nothing to do other than to fight or run. Except there was only one figure standing there. Hade said as he took his hood off, "Ah, the ever so bright Nalae, how could I think I could get past you?" And before Nalae and Garion could do anything, they were hit in the back of the heads. Garion, not fully passed out, sees Adriel being dragged off by Hade, then falls unconscious. As Garion slowly opened his eyes, he had a splitting headache and looked down and saw that his hands and clothes were covered in a significant amount of blood, and that his daggers were also caked in dried blood.
So at this point, when Garion like wakes up and sees all this blood and like his daggers and everything, does he have like any idea what the hell just happened, or is he like completely shocked?
He's completely shocked. He has no idea what the fuck's going on. Because he was knocked out and he was still semi-conscious when he saw Adriel getting dragged off. And then after that, it's literally just like he just woke up again. And he's just in his own home and there's blood everywhere.
Okay. So there was like a lot of blood, but when he looked around, was it like splattered everywhere? Did it look like there was like a big struggle?
It looked like it was just like a massacre.
Okay. Like just like a straight execution.
I wouldn't say execution, but, since the townsfolk, they were still, pretty hammered. It was, pretty late at night, so it wasn't really much they could do. So, maybe there's one or two that tried to fight back, but, it was pretty brutal.
Damn.
Everybody, this next part gets kind of gruesome, so if you're a bit squeamish, I would skip ahead, probably 20 seconds, just heads up. Yeah, so as he walked out of his house, which had body parts thrown all over the house, he started yelling for his sisters and his mother and his father. By the time he got to the door, he threw up all over the ground and saw that his entire family was just utterly massacred outside of his house, just laying there. But he noticed that his sister Adriel wasn't there.
So then he just instantly knew then she was what all this was for, pretty much.
Yeah, because he also saw her getting dragged off at the very beginning of this.
Yeah.
So he kind of pieced it together through the shock of seeing his entire family not put together. And from said shock of seeing his family just absolutely massacred, he passes out right then and there.
Does he like fall face first in the puke?
No, he walked like a few steps after that.
Because that would have been gross. That's all I'm worrying about, not the fucking family that died.
Not the family. Not the sister that's still alive. The puke. So as Garion's passed out, he hears an astral sounding voice say, "Wake up." And Garion yelled out, "Wake up." And then it screams, "This is not a place for you to die. Wake up." And then Garion screams as he shoots up and reaches for his dagger. As he does that, he notices a pack of animals in the village tearing at the flesh of the dead villagers. He lunges forward and just starts killing them one by one as the rage takes over.
And that's when he multi-classed into barbarian.
Yes. After he kills the last one, he falls to his knees and just starts crying. After a while, he knows that he needs to put the villagers and his family to rest, so he starts digging graves, and that he has one last mission, and that's to find his sister. And that's pretty much where we are.
So then, Basir and Garion eventually meet up. Do you guys have any idea of how that's gonna happen?
In my story, I don't know how Dawson thought about it, but what I wrote was like about 32 years later after that. So he's about, 122? That's when Basir and Garion first meet. And then about a year after that is when we first get into the horses on the road at the very beginning of the campaign.
Okay.
Yeah, so what do you want to unpack from that?
I guess the biggest question I have, does Garion have any idea as to what he thinks he should, like, what his first step for the plan to get his sister back is? Does he have any idea of that?
Well, since that event, he kind of went to a dark-ish place, and now he's like a criminal spy-ish, which is why his alignment's like chaotic neutral, I think. So, he doesn't have the best morals.
He's kind of like Sam Fisher in Splinter Cell Conviction. Oh, so you say he's like a criminal slash spy?
Yeah.
What has he actually done spy work for people before?
Yeah, I'd say he's I wouldn't say he's the best in the business, but I'd say he's pretty good. He's done some missions here and there.
All right, so how did Garion and Basir meet then?
I was in a town kind of scoping it out.
So you were doing like another average thief run in a small village one day, and you
Yeah, I saw
noticed.
that there was
Yeah.
a kind of a, I guess you could say it, a quote unquote mob boss in that town who was taking some of the townsmen for granted, and figured he probably had some nice loot, some gold in there, some valuables. So I thought I would try and sneak in and steal some shit.
Yeah, I basically tried to kill him because he wouldn't let me sleep under his shed. I was just trying to have a normal shed, and he just tried kicking me out, and I just wasn't having it. It was a bad day. Had flashbacks, PTSD. I just stabbed him right in the throat.
As I was in the quote unquote mob boss's room, I guess you could say, trying to unlock some things, trying to find some things, I heard some fighting outside of it, or Garion did, I guess. And all of a sudden, the door gate kicks in, and there's a huge barbarian that just comes barreling through the door with people chasing after him. Garion and Basir kind of just rip through these dudes and end up sticking together for a bit.
They figured that they could like help each other because they're like different talents that work well with each other, I guess.
Yeah. And fast forward a year, and here we are.
Now you're on the trail with Darin. You
Yeah.
guys just met at the beginning of the campaign.
Yeah, who the fuck is this dude?
And so Darin's really interesting because Darin is a druid, but he's dwarf, which don't really coincide very often because
No.
dwarves are almost always like fighters and like the tanks of the group. Um so the way Darin kind of was exposed to being a druid is he was living in the mountain like with all of his other clanmates like normal.
Like most dwarfs.
Yeah, and a terrible earthquake struck. Also, this world is on Earth, but the land masses aren't exactly like Earth. But yeah, the planet's Earth, but everything's different. Anyways, um, they are actually residing in the One Great Mountain. It's like this huge, like kind of think of like the Throat of the World for Skyrim. It's kind of the same thing.
It's like the Misty
They
Mountain.
made, yeah, they made that mountain their home, and this earthquake just ripped right through the mountain, and the only way they could survive was to escape and like leave everything they'd known. And nearly, I would say like 80% of his clan was killed in this earthquake,
Hmm.
and the rest of them kind of just set off into the wilderness just see what was next for them. And they eventually came across a circle of druids, and the druids took them in with open arms, kind of just showed them the way of the forest. And Darin really like connected with this. He he was always
How
kind of
old
a
was
dreamer.
Darren at the time?
I'm not. I'm gonna say like dwarves usually live like 400 to 500 years in my world, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So at the point of like him finding these druids, he's probably like 200 around there.
Oh,
He was like always a dreamer in his clan, and like he was kind of the outsider because of that. All the dwarves wanted to mine and just be in the mountain. That's all they wanted to do. But he kind of wanted something more, but he
you want an
didn't really
adventure.
know. Yeah, he didn't really know what that was.
So he was the
But
Bilbo Baggins of the dwarves.
yeah, he yeah. So he came across these druids and he really connected with them, and he learned their ways, and he realized that druids cleanse the world of disease and suffering pretty much.
Hmm.
Like he loved the way that druids t- uh treated other beings, I guess. And so once he finished his druid training and became like a full-fledged druid, he set off to do good, I guess.
Hmm.
And then he came across Gundren Rockseeker of the Rockseeker
Clan.
clan. His clan was the Torthran clan. Torthron clan. You can say whatever. But yeah, he came across Gundren, and he really liked Gundren's attitude, I guess. They like really connected. And so him and Gundren kind of traveled around a bit, and so they became friends, and they did a couple side jobs here and there. together. And then that's kind of where it leads into where our story is now. Gundren wanted to do a job, and so he got Sildar and you guys and Darn together to deliver these provisions to
Okay.
Phandalin. So yeah, that kind of just leads to how the story is now.
So how long have Basir and Garion known Darn before like that first scene where we're on the road?
They all met up in Neverwinter.
Oh, so not very
Um,
long.
Yeah, because that's kind of like where they got the provisions to like go to Phandalin. They like
Mhm.
all
Just
huddle
enough
up
to
in Neverwinter and then set off. So like
exchange names
you-
and do shit.
yeah, you have enough time with Darren to know he is a druid and his name is
Mhm.
Darren.
Yeah.
It's
we don't
pretty
really
much like
know
a car
much
ride.
about him.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty much like you
A
get an
long
Uber.
Uber.
That's yeah. That's
Okay.
how much time you have with Darren. So I'm really excited to kind of jump into how Darren starts to meld with you guys.
Mhm.
That's what we're giving that up as? A long ass Uber. Okay. Interesting.
What's his like alignment like? I'm assuming it's probably like
It's
good.
aligned with the Ubers.
So his alignment is neutral because he believes in balance
Oh, okay, yeah.
and he believes in like treating things fairly.
He's one with the 5-star ratings.
He's one with the 2.5 star ratings.
Yeah.
He understands why there's good and bad because
Okay. Yeah.
druids know there has to be bad for there to be good. That's also kind of why he's not immediately killing you guys for working with Uzal because he knows
Oh, try me,
Um,
bitch.
because he knows like he has a lot of empathy, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And yeah, he actually believes he can help Uzal.
Oh, okay.
I haven't really
Gone
portrayed
into
that, but
that much. Yeah.
yeah, Darren believes he could help Uzal be a good person after all that he's done. So yeah, that's a little synopsis on Darren.
Yeah. What's his Uber rating?
His Uber rating is 5 stars. Darren is a real chill dude. That has been it for this episode of Quick Save. If you have any more questions about us or the campaign, you can visit our website at theboyspodcast.com. And you can find tons of more info and the submission box to submit those questions you have. If you want to reach out to us on Twitter, you can find us at theboys_podcast. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's reticence.
If you want to find me on Twitter, it's at Zythonius, Xithonius.
You want to find me? It's going to be Dawson Hall 4.
And this has been the first episode of Quick Save. All right. Catch y'all next time. Peace.
Yes,
See
sir.
ya.